All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my vocabulary boot camp. This is really exciting for me because finally I get to help you increase your vocabulary in English. And over the course of these 3 weeks, I'm going to focus on 3 things. The first one is where to get your words, because where you get your words from will greatly affect how well you remember them and how much you're going to be able to actually use them in the future. Okay, so that's really important. Number 2 is how to understand those words, right? Because there's so many different words in English. You really need to understand nuance and meaning, context, and a whole bunch of other things. And then number 3 is then how to remember those words. How are you going to best study those words so that you can understand them when you hear them or read them, but even more importantly, that you'll be able to use them when it comes time to have a conversation, to give a speech, or even to write a letter. Okay, so I'm really excited. This is week 1, and so I'm going to talk about where to get your vocabulary words. Now, a lot of people think, okay, I need to go out and buy a book that has a big list of all of the words that I'm supposed to know. And I kind of tell people that that's not a very good idea because that's not going to be useful for you. You never know, like, where do those words come from? Why did they pick those words? Who picked those words? Just because it's in a book doesn't mean it's going to be the best thing for you personally to study. So then what do you study? There's a lot of different ways. And so during this first class, I'm going to talk about what those ways are. All right. So the very first one, which I know I just said, don't use lists, is kind of a list. But it doesn't come from a book, okay? It comes from a corpus. Now, a corpus basically is a software program that a bunch of people at my alma mater, Brigham Young University, they gained access to so much English text. They got it from movies and books and radio stations and the web and all kinds of things. It is the largest compendium of English that exists. And they put it into their software, and then the software analyzed it. And it said, okay, well, which words are used most often and which words are used less often? What is the context for each of these words, right? And it's an amazing, amazing resource. There is some free usage of this particular corpus that my former professor made. It is called COCA, and it is really, really awesome. It is, let's see, what does that stand for? The Corpus of Contemporary American English. And I use this all of the time in looking up frequency lists, looking up the words that are used most frequently in English, down to the least frequent. And because, like I said, most of English is really only that same like 5,000 words. Once you've mastered those, then you can go into other things that are more target specific. But in order to get those most used 5,000 words, COCA is a great place to get them from. Now, there are other corpuses that you can use. There is one, it's called iWeb, which is also really good, but it only pulls English from the web. And the web has a particular kind of bias of what types of English you're going to find. You're going to find a lot of news, a lot of business. And if that is what you're studying, then that's great. Use iWeb. But if that's not what you're studying, another corpus might be better for you. And there are a lot of them, right? There's corpuses based on fiction literature. There's corpuses based on academic literature. And you can go through all of these and decide, okay, well, which one is going to be most applicable to me? And I'm just now realizing that the plural of corpus is not corpuses, it's corpora. But that's okay. I can make mistakes even being a native speaker in English. All right, so how do you use these lists? I mean, it's great to have a big giant list of all of these words, but what do you do with them? Okay? Generally, what I tell people is if they're absolute beginners, look at those first 100 words, those first 300 words, become familiar with them, because those are the words that will be used in beginning texts. Make sure you understand, I think people is one of like the top 100, and the word, to come or to be, all of those things are very important in English, and so be familiar with those, and that's a great place to start. If you're a more advanced speaker, or even intermediate, this is where it gets kind of fun, because you can start at the beginning, and you can start scrolling through, and you can be like, I know that word, I know that word, I know that word, and the farther down the list you get, eventually, you're going to run into a word that you don't know. And so you can take that word and you say, oh, this is a really frequent word in English and I don't know it. What that indicates is you have a gap somewhere in your English learning that for whatever reason you didn't learn that word. And that's fine, because now you can learn it. And so what I have people do is look through this list of 5,000 words and pick the first 10 that they don't know and start there. Start your list right there with those first 10 words, because they will be regular English words, they will be useful for you, and they're ones that you should know if you are going to be speaking English on a regular basis. So corpora are really great for a lot of things, and I will show you even more on how corpora can be useful in another video, because they're great for understanding these words. But right now we're just concerned with list making. If you are a more intermediate or advanced speaker and you are looking just for a randomized set of English words to study, you can actually get that from a corpus, which is great. They'll just pick a random chunk of the frequency list and show that to you. Usually they will show you ones that are regular without being so common. And frequently these will be academic vocabulary words or other specialized vocabulary words. So those can be nice if you're an advanced speaker and really want to quiz yourself on the English language. But let's say you're done with corpora, you've finished, all of those basic words, and you need something a little bit more. Where are you going to get your source material? Because beginning English textbooks are great for teaching beginning English words, but there's not a whole lot of stuff out there for those more intermediate and advanced English speakers. I think most teachers believe once you get to that point, you can read just any regular English text, which would be nice, but it's not exactly true, as I'm sure you've experienced. So you have to be able to find sources and resources for creating your new vocabulary lists. In addition to corpora, finding a corpus to create a list, another thing that can be really good for finding words is to look around in your environment. Okay, I like to do a task called labeling. So think about children for a second. Children are learning a language for the first time, right, when they're babies. And let's say a child sees a dog and they point to it. Then their mom or dad will say, oh, doggy, doggy. And then the kid will say, doggy, doggy, and repeat that. And by hearing the word, having that dog labeled as doggy, and by repeating that, then they are able to incorporate that word into their memory. So if you pay attention to the order in which children learn words, it's the order in which they encounter them. Most baby's first word is mama or dada in English. Other common words are things that they want, like up, right? They want to be picked up. Or food items were really common in my kids. Nana for banana, or bread for bread. Apple, cracker, right? Shoes. Shoes was another really common one because we'd always say, let's go put on shoes to go outside. Car, right? Any of those things that children see, are interested in, and then have their parents label for them. Now, you probably don't have somebody to label everything for you. You don't have a native speaker in your pocket telling you, that's a lamp, and that's a bed, and this is a desk, right? But what you do have is a dictionary, and you also have something akin to Google, where you can probably take a picture and do an image search based on a picture. So what I would like you to do is to go around your house, go around your immediate environment, and try and label things. Do you know what everything is, right? Do you know that this is a pencil? Do you know that it's a mechanical pencil? Do you know that this part right here is the lead and this is the eraser? This thing probably has a name, but I don't know what it is. It's used to attach it to things or books, right? So this doesn't have to be just big things. You can label small things too, right? So you've got your phone, but on your phone I have a case, okay? On my phone there's a clock, there's a camera, a flashlight. There's a lot of different things that make up any given item. So go around labeling, and as soon as you run into something you can't label, then make a note of that. Write it down, find a way to keep track of that information so that you can go back and review it later. If you know all of the items in your house, one, great job, that's really good. But then what you can do is take it a step further and try to describe that item, right? So this pencil, as I'm describing it, it is a green pencil. It's kind of hard. When I shake it, it rattles a little bit. It's thin. It's pleasant. I don't know, right? Try and find ways to describe those things because adjectives are a little bit more difficult than nouns. And then if you can describe it, then try and use it in a sentence. Can you talk about it, right? What do you do with a pencil? Well, I write or I sketch, right? I draw. And you can think of different verbs that are associated with that. And again, add to your vocabulary list. So here's your exercise for this experiential learning. Walk around your house, okay? Spend 10 minutes going around with a notebook and look at stuff. Go into different rooms, right? Go into the bathroom, go into the kitchen. Do you know what a sink is? A faucet, right? Countertops or cupboards, a blender, right? Most people will know microwave or refrigerator, but you might not know like a mixer or something like that. And so try and label all of those things in your mind. And for the ones that you don't know, write them down. Okay, and if you know all of the things again, try and describe them with adjectives. If you can do that, then try and talk about how you would use those things. Okay, so go forth, do that exercise, and see what words you come up with. You should always write down at least 10 words anytime you're doing an exercise. You can always do more, and then we will do some stuff with them next week.